My wedding day was perfect until someone else made it about them. Right after our vows, the music stopped. A champagne glass clinked. And suddenly, my brother was on one knee, proposing to his girlfriend. The crowd went wild. Phones flashing. People cheering. My husband and I, we just stood there. He stole the spotlight. Hijacked the most important day of my life. But what he didn't know was that the ring he used, it had a recording. His voice. Laughing. Plotting the whole thing. And when that audio played through the speakers in front of everyone, his moment, it didn't shine. It burned. I'm a 28-year-old woman, and I've always been the type to keep my head down and work hard. No drama. No attention-seeking. Just steady. I work in marketing, and I'm engaged to the sweetest man alive, Ethan. We met through mutual friends, fell hard, and 2 years later, he proposed during a weekend trip to the mountains. It was private, quiet, just us, with the smell of pine in the air and a shaky little, yes, whispered through tears. That's who I am. And that's the kind of love we have. So when we started planning our wedding, we agreed we didn't want anything extravagant. No over-the-top theatrics. Just something warm and meaningful, surrounded by people who loved us. Enter Chase. My older brother. Chase is everything I'm not. Loud. Flashy. Always posting #winning captions online with champagne and sports cars he's leasing but pretending he owns. He's the guy who somehow knows someone everywhere we go. He's charming, I'll give him that. The kind of charm that turns heads at parties, gets discounts at restaurants, and makes people forgive things they probably shouldn't. Growing up, Chase was the favorite. Our parents never admitted it outright, but the way they beamed when he walked into a room, yeah, it was obvious. Meanwhile, I got the responsible one badge pinned to my chest like a name tag I didn't ask for. Still, we were close, in our own dysfunctional way. So when I told him I was engaged, he smiled wide and hugged me hard. Said he was happy for me. Called Ethan a solid dude. Said he couldn't wait to be my best man, which, was weird because obviously Ethan's brother was going to be the best man. But I laughed it off. That was Chase. He joked like that all the time. Still, I noticed something that day. This flicker in his eye. Like he wasn't just congratulating me. He was calculating something. At the time, I chalked it up to my own nerves. Wedding planning is stressful after all. But that little flicker in his expression? It stuck with me. Anyway, fast forward a few months, and the planning is well underway. We book a venue by the lake where Ethan's grandparents used to picnic. We decide on a live acoustic band, a taco bar because we're casual like that, and handwritten vows. Every detail felt like us. Ethan was involved in every step, picking the playlist, writing our ceremony, taste testing 5 different kinds of guac because we need options. I felt loved. Seen. Until we had dinner with my family one Sunday night. It was just the 4 of us, me, Ethan, my parents, and Chase. We had wine, grilled salmon, and the usual teasing back and forth. Then, right as dessert hit the table, Chase leaned back in his chair and smirked. You know, he said, tapping his fork against the glass. I've got a big surprise coming soon, too. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, yeah. He grinned wider. Yep. Gonna blow everyone's minds. Ethan asked if it was about work. Chase was always bouncing from startup to startup, but Chase just said, nah, bigger than that. Then he winked at me. Winked. My parents laughed. My mom told him not to steal the spotlight for my wedding, and he raised his glass and said, Me? I live in the spotlight. I should have said something then. Should have asked him what that meant. But I didn't. Because I didn't want drama. I just wanted my wedding. My moment. And I still believed Chase, despite his ego, would never really do something that's selfish. Right? 2 weeks after that dinner, I got a text from Chase. It was a photo of a black velvet ring box sitting on what looked like his kitchen counter. No caption. Just the box, slightly cracked open, like it was teasing something inside. I stared at it for a minute, confused. Then I texted back, "What's this?" He replied almost instantly, "Wouldn't you like to know, winking face?" I rolled my eyes. Classic Chase. Cryptic and smug for no reason. I told Ethan about it, and he shrugged. Maybe he's proposing soon? That would have made sense if Chase and his girlfriend, Vanessa, weren't in the middle of a rough patch. Vanessa was sweet, quiet, a bit awkward in social settings, but always polite. She worked as a nurse and rarely came to family events unless she had to. Honestly, I always felt kind of bad for her. Being with Chase looked exhausting, but the idea of him proposing? That didn't track. Not with the way he talked about her. Once, after too many beers at a barbecue, I overheard him joke to a cousin, "She's great and all, but let's be honest, she's not the one. Just someone to hang with until the real deal comes along." Gross. So yeah, the ring box felt strange. A couple days later, Chase called me up and asked if he could help with some last-minute wedding errands. Said he wanted to feel included. Again, I was suspicious, but I wasn't about to turn down an extra pair of hands. We had centerpieces to organize, a guest list to finalize, and a million little details piling up. We met at a cafe near my apartment. He was oddly upbeat. Almost too upbeat. Kept dropping hints about making memories, and this wedding being unforgettable. I asked what he meant, and he just smirked. "You'll see." That was starting to become his thing, saying just enough to be annoying, never enough to actually explain. Later that night, I couldn't shake this uneasy feeling in my chest. Like something was coming. Something off. But I didn't say anything. Didn't want to cause friction right before the wedding. Maybe I was overthinking. Maybe I was just tired. That's what I told myself. Until the rehearsal dinner. That's when things really started to go sideways. The night before the wedding, we held a rehearsal dinner at a cozy Italian restaurant near the venue. It was exactly how I wanted it, small, warm, full of laughter and clinking glasses. Ethan's family had flown in. My college roommate gave a sweet little toast that made me tear up. Even my dad got choked up talking about giving me away. And for a moment, everything felt right. Until Chase stood up. He tapped his knife against his glass and raised it like he was about to give a toast. Everyone quieted down. I didn't ask him to speak. Neither did Ethan. But I forced a smile. "All right," Chase said, grinning at the room. "I just want to say how incredibly proud I am of my baby sister." I flinched a little at that. I hated when he called me that in front of people. She's always been the planner, the responsible one, and now look at her, about to marry the best dude in the room. Laughter. Ethan gave a little nod. So far, so good. Then Chase added, "And don't worry, I'm not going to steal the spotlight tonight." That got a few chuckles, including from my parents. But my stomach dropped. He said it so casually. So pointedly, like he wanted everyone to remember those exact words. He continued, "Let's just say tomorrow's gonna be one for the books." And then he winked. Again. That damn wink. He sat down, and the mood slowly recovered. But I couldn't shake the tension crawling up my spine. Later that night, Ethan pulled me aside and whispered, "Did that feel weird to you?" I nodded. "He keeps hinting at something," I said. "Like he's planning some kind of surprise." "Should we ask him directly?" Ethan offered. I thought about it. But what would I even say? "Hey, are you going to sabotage my wedding because you crave attention?" No. We were hours away from getting married. I told Ethan we should just focus on us. Let it go. But then, Vanessa arrived. She was late to the dinner, clearly flustered, and Chase barely acknowledged her when she sat down. She smiled at me, but it was the kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. I watched them out of the corner of my eye all evening. She kept trying to talk to him. He kept brushing her off. At one point, she touched his arm, and he physically moved it away. It was subtle, but I saw it. So did Ethan. As we left the restaurant, I saw Vanessa standing alone near the valet, arms crossed. She looked lost. I walked over and asked if she was okay. She hesitated. Then she nodded quickly. "Yeah," she said. Just tired. Long shift at work. I wanted to press further. Ask why Chase was treating her like an afterthought. But again, not the time. Not the place. I wished her a good night and hugged her goodbye. She hugged me back, tightly, like she didn't want to let go. And then she whispered something that sent a chill down my neck. Congratulations. Don't let anyone ruin it for you. She pulled back before I could ask what she meant. Got into the Uber and drove off. I stood there in the warm summer air, heart pounding in my chest. What did she know? What was she trying to tell me? I turned to Ethan. Something's not right. He took my hand. Then we keep our eyes open tomorrow. The morning of my wedding, I woke up with that same tight knot in my stomach. But I shoved it down. This was my day. My moment. And I wasn't going to let Chase, or whatever vibe he was giving off, ruin it. The ceremony was beautiful. The sun glowed through the trees. Ethan cried when he read his vows, and I barely got mine out without bawling. We kissed. Everyone clapped. And for a little while, I let myself believe that the unease I'd been feeling was just pre-wedding jitters. The reception was set up outside, under a canopy of string lights by the lake. We had long tables with candles, soft indie music playing, and a taco bar that had everyone raving. I was finally starting to relax. Until Chase started making rounds. He wasn't just chatting, he was performing. Loud laughter, big hand gestures, jokes that were more about him than anyone else. People gravitated toward him the way they always did. And then, while Ethan and I were taking photos near the water, one of my bridesmaids pulled me aside. He's up to something, she whispered. Chase. She nodded. I heard him telling one of the groomsmen, just wait till the cake comes out. That's when the real party starts. I stared at her. The cake? That was my moment. The photographer was lined up to capture the classic bride and groom cake cutting. It was symbolic. A sweet little capstone on everything we'd worked so hard to plan. And now, Chase was planning something during it? I told Ethan. He clenched his jaw. I swear if he... No, I said, cutting him off.
Not yet.
Let's wait and see. So we did. And unfortunately, we didn't have to wait long. Just as the music shifted and the MC invited everyone to gather near the cake table, Chase stepped forward. Glass in hand, tapping with a fork. That sound cut through everything.
Ting, ting, ting.
He smiled at the crowd as they turned toward him. I know, he said. You're all thinking, Chase, don't steal the spotlight from your sister's big day. Some polite laughter. I froze. Ethan grabbed my hand under the table. Chase went on. But I just can't help it. Love is in the air, and I've been inspired. He turned toward Vanessa, who stood awkwardly near the back, her arms folded tightly across her stomach. He walked toward her, dropped to one knee, and pulled out that same black velvet box. Oh my God, someone whispered.
People gasped.
Phones came out, and Chase said, loud enough for everyone to hear, Vanessa, will you marry me? There it was. The moment I'd feared. The moment he made my wedding day about him. I stared at him, stunned. Everything felt fuzzy, like the sound in the room dropped out. Vanessa's hand flew to her mouth. She didn't say anything, didn't move. The silence was deafening. But then she nodded. Barely. And people started clapping, cheering. Chairs scraped back. Someone even shouted, "Aw." I was standing there in my wedding dress, holding a cake knife. My jaw clenched so tight it hurt. I saw Ethan glaring. But worse, so much worse, was seeing our guests talking about Chase. Not the ceremony, not the love, not our vows, but him.
Chase.
My parents? Beaming. My mom had tears in her eyes. Like this was the highlight of a night. I blinked fast. My hands were shaking. I turned to Ethan. He leaned in. Do we say something? I shook my head. Not yet. Because as Chase stood back up, Smiling like he'd won some imaginary competition, I caught a glimpse of something else. Vanessa. She wasn't smiling. She was crying. And not happy tears. I watched her quietly slip away, heading toward the bathrooms. No one noticed. No one cared. But I did. I handed Ethan the cake knife. Be right back. I walked inside the venue, heart pounding, rage twisting in my chest.
But what I found in that bathroom,
that changed everything. The bathroom was quiet, except for the faint bass of music thumping through the floor. I found Vanessa in the corner, crouched on the little bench near the sink, mascara streaking down her cheeks. She looked up when I came in, startled. Sorry, she whispered, wiping her face. But I shook my head.
No, don't be.
Are you okay? She hesitated, clearly weighing whether to say anything. And then she broke.
No, she said.
I'm not okay. I'm so not okay. She let out a shaky breath and pulled a tissue from the counter. I didn't know he was going to do that, she whispered. The proposal. I thought we were breaking up. That stopped me cold. What? She nodded, her voice trembling. He barely talks to me anymore. He's been distant for weeks. I honestly thought he was going to end things after the wedding. So when he proposed, I just froze. I didn't want to cause a scene. I sat down next to her, stunned. She reached into her small clutch bag and pulled out the ring box. Held it up like it was radioactive. I don't even know where this ring came from, she said. It's not my size. Not my style. It was just handed to me like a prop. My mind was spinning. But then, something happened that I'll never forget. She opened the box.
And it made a sound.
A click. Followed by static. And then the voice. Chase's voice.
Loud. Smug. Clear as day.
Dude, it's gonna be epic. I'll wait till right after the vows, right when people are still emotional. Drop to one knee, boom, my moment.
She'll say yes.
She always does what I want. Then laughter. And my sister? She won't say a word. She never does. She'll just smile like always. What's she gonna do? Kick me out of her own wedding? Please. I sat there in total silence, eyes wide. Vanessa snapped the box shut, her hands shaking. It must have recorded by accident, she said. I think he used this box before and didn't realize it saved something. I stared at her, then the box, then back at her, and I smiled, because suddenly the ache in my chest began to shift. It was still hot, but now it wasn't pain. It was fuel. You still have that audio? I asked. She nodded slowly. Would you mind if I borrowed it? She looked at me, surprised. Why? I stood up, wiped my hands on my dress, and looked in the mirror. My eyeliner had smudged just slightly. I fixed it. Then I turned back to her. Because it's time someone did say something. She handed me the ring box. And for the first time that day, I felt calm. Not numb. Not hurt. Focused. Because Chase thought I would stay quiet. He thought I'd smile and clap and let him have the spotlight like I always had. But not this time. Not at my wedding. I walked back out into the reception like nothing had happened. Smiling.
Calm.
The kind of calm that comes right before a storm. Chase was still soaking in the attention, holding Vanessa's hand like she was a trophy. She didn't look at him. Didn't say a word. She just stood there, cold and quiet. Ethan was at the DJ's booth when I returned. I leaned in, whispered something in his ear, and handed him the ring box. He nodded once and didn't ask questions. The DJ gave me a quick thumbs up and turned down the music. I picked up the mic.
Ting, ting, ting.
All eyes turned to me this time. I smiled sweetly, gripping the microphone with both hands. I just want to thank everyone for being here today. It means the world to us, I began. Polite applause. Chase raised his glass lazily. And I continued. I want to thank my brother for reminding me why some spotlights are better left earned, not stolen. He froze mid-sip. Some guests looked confused. Others leaned in. I was worried about being overshadowed today. I went on, still smiling. But I realize now, you can't be overshadowed when you stand in the truth. So, I'd like to share something. A little gift that came my way unexpectedly. I nodded to the DJ. And then the audio played. First came the static. Then Chase's voice, loud and unmistakable, pouring out of the speakers. Dude, it's gonna be epic. I'll wait till right after the vows, right when people are still emotional. Drop to one knee, boom, my moment.
She'll say yes.
She always does what I want. Laughter. And my sister? She won't say a word. She never does. She'll just smile like always. What's she gonna do? Kick me out of her own wedding? Please.
Gasps.
Utter silence. A woman dropped her fork. Someone said, "Oh my God." Chase stood there, frozen. His face turned red, then white, then red again. Vanessa slowly pulled her hand out of his and stepped away like he was radioactive. She looked at me, then grabbed the ring box from the DJ's table, walked back to Chase, and threw it at his chest. "Rod in your own spotlight," she said, loud and clear. Then she walked away. People started murmuring. Whispers.
Shocks.
Some eyes wide. Some recording on their phones. Chase opened his mouth like he was going to spin it, like he always did. But no one was buying it. Ethan stepped forward, voice firm. "You're not welcome here anymore." Chase turned to our parents, looking for backup. But they weren't smiling anymore. My mom's hands were shaking. My dad's lips were pressed in a hard line. "Leave," my dad said. Just one word. But it was enough. Chase looked like he'd been slapped. He glanced around, saw the stares, the judgment, the silence. And for once in his life, he had nothing to say. He turned and walked out. Alone. No applause this time. No cheers. Just the sound of his own footsteps retreating into the night. I exhaled, suddenly aware I'd been holding my breath. Ethan took my hand again. And for the first time all day, I felt like a bride. Not an afterthought. Not a background character in someone else's circus.
Me.
The woman who stood up. The woman who said something. And from that moment on, the rest of the night was exactly how it was supposed to be.
Ours.
The next morning, I woke up to sunlight streaming into our hotel suite and the soft hum of Ethan making coffee. No chaos. No spotlight-stealing drama. Just peace. And I realized something as I lay there staring at the ceiling. Chase didn't ruin my wedding. He revealed himself. And in doing so, he gave me something more valuable than the perfect reception photo or a flawless timeline. He gave me clarity. Clarity about who really supports me, who respects boundaries, and who thinks love is a competition. The fallout was immediate. Vanessa blocked him on everything. She later sent me a short message thanking me, not just for exposing him, but for seeing her, for giving her the courage to finally walk away. My parents were shaken. I think for the first time they saw Chase the way the rest of us did. Not as this charming, golden boy, but as a manipulator. Someone who expected the world to bend for him, no matter the cost. They apologized. Not just for the wedding night, but for the years of letting him take center stage while I played second fiddle. And honestly, I didn't need the apology. But it meant something to finally hear it. As for Ethan, he's still my rock. Still making guac samplers and silly playlists. But now, we joke that our wedding will go down in family history, not just for the lakeside vows, or the soft flights, or the dancing under the stars, but for the moment the ring spoke.
People still talk about it.
Some were shocked. Some laughed. Some told me I was petty. But I don't care. Because I didn't plan revenge. I just let the truth speak for itself. And in the end, that truth was louder than any proposal, brighter than any spotlight, and strong enough to silence the one person who thought he could outshine me on the most important day of my life. He was wrong. This was my story. And I made damn sure it ended on my terms.